Hey y'all, it's Alexander Creek, Astrologer Intuitive. Welcome back to my channel, my podcast. We're going to be talking about the astrology happening around the full moon in Aquarius, which is happening August 8th, August 9th. And we have a bunch of stuff happening around that full moon. So that's kind of why I opted to do, instead of doing an August astrology video, there's just too much going on to do it in one video. So we're breaking this up into chunks. So this video, we're talking about the full moon, Mercury stations direct on August 11th. Yay. We have a really tough opposition of Mars and Saturn right around that full moon. But then we have a really, really beneficial, sweet, juicy aspect between Venus and Jupiter happening around August 13th. So there's a lot going on in these couple days, and we're going to be talking about the overview of this astrology as well as what it might mean for your sign. So let's get into it. We have a lot to talk about, but first I'm going to kind of talk about a couple specials I have right now, and then we'll get to the forecast. Also, make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you're following me on YouTube, and if you like what you're seeing, make sure that you like, share, whatever, turn on notifications, all the things that I'm supposed to say, but make sure that you're staying in touch with me because it does help for people to see my stuff. And additionally, I still have a summer special ongoing for spirit readings. These are kind of psychic medium style readings where we connect to spirit and your spirit guides, past over loved ones, and talk. We can help kind of give you guidance on what's up ahead, the energy around you, information on career, relationships, all of that kind of stuff. It's been really, really good connecting with so many of you over the past couple of weeks. I've been a busy boy, which has been great. I'm also going to be adding distance Reiki sessions. I've done this before a long time ago. I just haven't offered it for a long time, and I'm feeling inspired to offer it again. So Reiki is an energy healing modality. If you feel like you're in a funk, if your energy is just low, or if you need assistance with like an ongoing health issue, or simply to move emotional or kind of stuck energy out of your field, it's a really good way to move energy, reduce stress, and get energy flowing and moving. As part of the energy healing session, I do kind of scan your energetic body and your chakras and talk about kind of what I see going on with those and any kind of messages I might receive from spirit as well. So this is great for a tune-up and energetic check-in, as well as kind of getting a little tune-up and insight from spirit without doing like a full-on reading if you don't need a full reading. So in this session, we would meet on the phone first, and then I do energy healing off the call and then send you a message with kind of what I got during the energy healing session. You can also combine it with a spirit reading as well. I used to call these like a treat yourself session. So I am bringing them back. If you need a little healing, a little tune up, a little insight from spirit, that can be a great way to do so. There's more information in the show notes or the comment section. You can just click on Reiki at dogstaroracle.com, and it will give you the rate and booking for those. The Reiki healing is going to be just $55 for right now. So I think that's a pretty good deal. The combo reading, I haven't decided on a price yet, but by the time this is posted, that will be posted on my website. So you can go ahead and book that then. So let's go ahead and finally talk about the energy of the month now that I'm like done promoting myself. Okay. So first things first, let's discuss Mars changing signs and the fact that Mars is going to be opposite Saturn. Right around August 9th, which is essentially happening the same time as the full moon. And it's going to be important to explain Mars opposite Saturn before we talk about this full moon, because this full moon is very linked to this energy. So first of all, Mars opposite Saturn is a tough energy. It does not mean it is going to ruin your life or absolutely derail everything, but it is a universally more difficult energy. You can still use it constructively. And again, after I kind of break down the general astrology for each of these aspects, I will talk about what it might mean for your sign. However, please note that I do not have your, full birth chart in front of me. So I'm not going to be able to tell you exactly what it means for you unless you book a session with me or another astrologer. So Mars, first of all, is the planet of action, energy, passion. It is like kind of like the gas in our tank. It's the planet of like war and fighting and disruption and separation. But also it is the planet of like action, energy, and motivation, right? So Mars is going to go into Libra on August 7th, and it is going to remain there until September 22nd. And as soon as it does, it actually makes an opposition to Saturn pretty much right away. And let me show you what I am talking about. Let me pull up my let's pull up the chart so I can actually show you what the hell I'm talking about. So pretty much as soon as it moves into Libra, we have Saturn here at 1 degree of at 1 degree, 1 degree of the sign Aries. Saturn is constriction, containment, limitations, rules, and structure. First of all, what is interesting? Where Mars wants something to happen like really fast, it wants things now, it wants to do it now. It's like, I want the thing now. Saturn is usually the planet that says, wait, or like Saturn is kind of the planet when your parent maybe said when you were little, we'll see. And we'll see usually meant no. At least that's what it was in my house. If my mom said, we'll see, that meant it wasn't happening. So what's interesting, first of all, with this opposition is that Mars and Saturn are both in signs where they might struggle a little bit in. Mars is in its detriment in the sign of Libra. First of all, a planet being in detriment just means it can kind of struggle a little bit, or that it's under-resourced. Mars is the planet of war, conflict, and fighting. Libra is a peacemaking sign. So you can see how that might be an awkward fit. One thing during this Mars and Libra period from August 7th through September 22nd is there's going to be a theme of like constructive conflict, or like, Mars and Libra in its highest expression is like an expression of a a mediator of conflict, of someone like who might, specialize. Like, let's say that this is maybe like a planet that you have in your natal chart. This might, like, in its highest expression, it might be you might be really good at like mediating conflict, or being able to approach touchy subjects with kind of like surgical precision. It's sort of like Mars and Libra kind of has to figure out, how do I approach conflict without kind of hurting anyone's feelings, or even like, hey, I might hurt someone's feelings, but I'm doing it in a really tactful way. It's like not. So the negative side of Mars and Libra might be more passive aggressive energy, or more just kind of snippy kind of energy. So this Mars and Libra period that we're all going to experience does feel a little bit focused on relationships and maintaining relationship harmony, because Mars is in a sign that really deals with relationships in the sign of Libra. Libra is also a Venus-ruled sign, and Venus is all about relationships and harmony and peace and coming together. And what's interesting is that Mars is going to be making a sign-based square to Venus. I think the entire time, or most of the time, that is. And let's double check on that. Hold on, how long is that going to be? So at least for all of August, Mars is going to be square Venus. So there is this almost like extra emphasis, or maybe even a little bit more support on like harmony, relationships, and connection with others. It is not going to be in a way that is sort of like this cozy, easy fit, but there is this extra theme on like, hey, we have to get along, essentially, during this Mars and Libra energy. And there is some of this goodwill energy that we do get from Jupiter. Jupiter and Venus are both supportive planets that help to affirm and expand, because they are both benefic planets. So there is this encouraging energy from Venus and Jupiter, while Mars is in Libra this month. So the other thing that's interesting about this opposition, so Saturn is also an unconventional fit in the sign of Aries. Saturn is in its fall in Aries, meaning, this is an unconventional, maybe a more difficult place for Saturn to be. Because again, Saturn is a planet of like, let's wait and see, let's make sure it's done right. It's the sign of things that are slow and take a long time, but are worth it in the end. The sign of, order and structure and legacy. And Aries is more of a sign of like, let's get up and do it now. I don't want to wait. So Saturn expressing itself in the sign of Aries can be a challenging expression for Saturn. So it does kind of speak to some additional awkwardness coming up with this opposition. But I'm going to say the general meaning of this opposition, of this energy that we're going to be kind of building up to all week from when I post this video through August 9th. August 9th is the peak kind of exact time of this energy. There's this energy of maybe encountering some obstacles. Maybe not being able to fit all of the things that you want to do into your schedule. You may encounter some burnout a little bit, because a Mars Saturn opposition is like encountering some kind of hardship, obstacle, delay, or setback. It can also be about having to do something that you just don't really want to do, but you have to do it. This would be, so it's quite possible that this week that we are maybe encountering a little bit of grindy kind of energy, a feeling of a setback, or even just a feeling of I have to put in effort even though I don't fucking want to. That's kind of what it's giving to me. Also, because when you throw Neptune in the mix here, Mars will be opposite Neptune. And Neptune does tend to kind of dissolve energy. It can sort of spiritualize and give imagination to things as well and make things more mystical. But the reality is, it's I just don't really think we're going to be wanting to do a lot with Mars and Libra opposing Saturn and Neptune. So again, this kind of puts a wah wah energy around the around the dates of August 8th and 9th. So I would say if you are feeling overscheduled, I would say try not to overcommit yourself to things this weekend. Try not to overdo things. But at the same time, if you have obligations you absolutely have to do, there's no really getting out of it. It's just do it the best that you can. And also this tension is going to fall, it's going to fall across your Aries house as well as your Libra house. And we will discuss the meanings of those house topics for your sign when we get to that. But that is part of this energy. It is, I think, relatively quick moving energy because Mars is out of that degree range. Again, it's happening August 8th, August 9th. I would maybe kind of give it till Mars is at 4 degrees of Libra, which is August 14th, for that energy to really feel like it's in your rear view mirror. Because after August 8th and August 9th, that will be a separating energy. When a planet moves away from an aspect, that energy really starts to dramatically fade. And when we feel it building up as that opposition begins to form. So we're going to be feeling that this week. So I was just talking to a friend and she was like, I just spent all month working like a busy bee on my house and doing all this stuff. And by the way, friend, if you're listening, I'm talking about you. And Mars was in the sign of Virgo in her 4th house of home and family. And then all of a sudden she's like, I just feel the need to stop, sit on the couch and do absolutely nothing. And I feel like that's going to be a lot of us. So just know if your energy is a little funky, that might be why the energy moves by pretty quickly. So let's go ahead and talk about this full moon that we have going on. Really right around the same time. So we have a full moon in Aquarius. It is happening really, really early in the morning, August 9th, Denver time. So we could say August 8th or August 9th effectively. This full moon is going to be at 16 degrees of Leo. This full moon is going to be at 16 degrees of Aquarius. The sun will be at 16 degrees of Leo. So first thing that we want to know, I'm actually going to pull up my notes so I don't forget what the hell I'm saying. Okay, so first thing that we are going to want to know about this full moon is this really does kind of highlight that kind of chunky, grindy, effortful, I have to do stuff I don't want to, or I don't have the energy to do stuff energy of that Saturn opposition, because Aquarius is a sign that is ruled by Saturn. So Saturn effectively is kind of in charge or sort of guiding this full moon. So it does put emphasis on this like kind of tougher kind of energy. And also, kind of on a collective level, it does put emphasis on the Saturn and Neptune conjunction that we are experiencing as well. The Saturn Neptune conjunction, there's so much to talk about with that. But one of the things that's happening in the collective that we can see very plainly around us right now is the dissolution of various kind of legacy structures. Neptune dissolves things. Saturn represents legacy, elders, and structure. Saturn is struggling in the sign of Aries, and Neptune is sort of dissolving these kinds of structures. I really feel like we're going into a new era or a new age, and right now we are kind of seeing the fall around these things and the birth of something new. We are not seeing the birth yet, but we are seeing these structures sort of dissolving and changing. And, there may be a bit of a feeling around this full moon again as to like what exactly are these structures dissolving and kind of giving way to. And again, you may want to kind of check the topics of your Aries house, because the Aries house, I think, will be also pretty important during this full moon, because it is sort of signifying like whatever's happening in your Aries house. For instance, I'm Scorpio rising. Aries would be my 6th whole sign house. Houses being like the life area. My 6th house is health and work stuff. And I'm kind of in this flux period of like, yes, I still have some day job work, but I'm focusing more and more and more on my spiritual work. And I'm kind of thinking, I'm like, okay, like when exactly is that going to be full time? It's like, I almost feel like other stuff in my life kind of starting to fall away and me kind of going into this new era, but it's almost like not quite time yet. And I can kind of feel like I'm in this sort of between stage, basically. So those topics of the Aries house are going to be important during this full moon. So a full moon in Aquarius, I do also think one more thing I want to say about the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. In the book Cosmos and Psyche, which is this amazingly detailed, incredibly researched book about how these, the different planetary aspects and cycles in the sky correlate to different kind of patterns that we see here on Earth. And this is this sort of like using astrology and kind of putting that together with world history. And what Richard Tarnas spoke about, he talks about Saturn Neptune conjunction somewhat, but he also talks about like if you were born with a Saturn Neptune conjunction in your natal chart, and he says that there is a like deep awareness and profound sort of awareness on like the suffering and plight of humanity. And one of the things going on right now in the world is this utter humanitarian crisis in Palestine/Gaza. And there has been an ongoing genocide since 2023. And we are in this just humanitarian crisis. And there are all these photos coming out about people starving and not being able to access food. And that is because there is a blockade by the state of Israel that is not allowing food and aid to flow in. So it's like we're all watching this sort of humanitarian crisis. And I do feel like there is this blockage or blockade energy that is going to be part of this full moon. And so there's awareness of human suffering. I frankly feel like as part of this full moon, there is some, I think, really beautiful energy coming in just a couple of days later. But especially because Aquarius is a humanitarian sign, it is connected to, the suffering of mankind. I do feel like there is this energy around like humanitarian stuff and like the plight of humanity with this full moon in Aquarius. And Aquarius is a very logical, innovative sign that is about often like ingenuity and brilliance. So this full moon, I wonder if it's going to give us some energy around like how to solve problems, frankly, because Aquarius is a sign that is traditionally ruled by Saturn. And this sign, it is an air sign, even though we associate it with water. It's sort of like Aquarius is very much about like, how do we, being the water bearer, it's sort of like containing or holding all of humankind's energy and sort of holding space for all of our emotions and all of our suffering. So in a way, it's sort of taking a very sort of detached kind of look at how to fix the problems of the world. On a personal level, a full moon in Aquarius, there is a lot to do with originality and like uniqueness and your unique soul spark versus like the needs of the group and needs of the many. Or will you allow yourself to express who you are at a soul level, even though it may make you a little bit of an outcast or make you different from the rest of the group, are some of these archetypes that we can kind of see with Aquarius. It's about embracing your unique brilliance, your unique your unique ingenuity, or kind of what makes you different. So, but other than that, and then also the last thing I want to say about this full moon is that this full moon is also different kind of, since this is at 16 degrees, we can divide the sign into kind of 3 chunks. So this is, and those chunks, I don't know what else to call it, are called decans. And each decan is going to be kind of a different kind of like a slightly sort of different version of that Aquarius energy. So this decan of Aquarius is the second decan. And this puts emphasis on Mercury. And so Mercury would sort of rule this decan. So there's a Mercury flavor to this full moon. And the way I interpret it, the way I sort of interpreted that is, if just 2 days later after this full moon, Mercury is going to station direct in the sky. And Mercury will be stationing direct, opposing Pluto, the planet of the underworld, of the ultra wealthy, ultra powerful, people's secrets. There's something I think around this full moon at looking at the brutal, hard truth of something, because Aquarius is an air sign. It can be very kind of mental, more detached, more connected to like facts and figures and all of that. And because there's a sort of Mercury stationing direct thing kind of happening, it's really, I do not see this as an overly emotional full moon. This is sort of kind of giving me like the feeling of like, yes, there are these Aquarian themes of being true to yourself, these humanitarian themes, these very strong humanitarian themes coming in, also like this feeling of sort of coming together. But also there is this cold, hard look at the information being coming forward at this time. This, like I was saying in my last video, there has never been as much public interest in the Epstein files as there is right now. And I am wondering with this Mercury Pluto station, if we maybe are going to gain some more access to this, or if there's maybe information sort of unearthed and discovered that is going to be maybe uncomfortable for, like the wealthy and powerful, essentially, because this full moon is sort of like power to the people, bringing power back to the people. And there is a sort of investigation and research kind of energy of unearthing secrets and information that wealthy and powerful would prefer to have hidden. So, yeah. So, and just to reiterate, when we go forward to August 11th, Mercury is going to station direct. So Mercury retrograde, it doesn't quite get back to normal right away. It does take a few days for Mercury to stop kind of hanging out stationary in the sky. So those Mercury retrograde themes of review, of looking back on things from the past, on unearthing previously hidden information, maybe kind of extra loud around the 11th for a few days. And also things like technology, transportation, cars, emails, logistics, aid, and finances may take a few days to kind of get back to kind of humming like normal. Kind of, again, I was kind of described like a stationary planet. It's like when a car is like has to stop and then back up and then go forward again. It's like there's that lag time before it sort of eventually gets back on the road. So kind of give that a few days, and that will start to pick up speed and just sort of normal out. I do want to make a quick observation. I did notice an abnormal amount. This is purely anecdotal evidence. An abnormal amount of people's transportation really getting disrupted and having issues during this Mercury in Leo. And like that normally happens, I think, during Mercury retrograde, but there's a lot of car issues. And part of that, I think, is because we also had Mars, which is associated with disruption, with conflict, and just jarring kind of energy sometimes, was in the sign of Virgo. And Virgo is a Mercury ruled sign, Mercury being transportation and cars and all of that. So I did notice that. And so that was an interesting kind of observation to kind of notice for the future. So after this full moon, and again, full moons, you want to think about what is coming up to culmination, what is coming up for completion, what chapter is ending, what is being fulfilled right now. And just because this energy is tense and there's maybe some, blockage kind of energy in there, it doesn't mean that you are personally going to take on this energy of like something's hard or something's struggling. You may feel it a little bit. But for example, I'm looking at this full moon coming up. Aquarius is my fourth house of home. And I'm moving at the end of this month. I literally, as of today, I got approved for a new apartment. I'm moving in with a friend. So I can already kind of see what this full moon is going to be about for me. Sometimes it's not that dramatic. It's like, oh, here's an ending to a chapter. We are moving on, So we have August 11th, that Mercury Direct. And then let's see. I think this is August 12th. So, excuse me, I misspoke a little bit. So August 11th, hold on. When is this happening? So right around August 12th, late in the day, August 12th, or late in the day, August 11th, or early in the day, August 12th is when we have that Venus Jupiter conjunction happening. So so essentially the same day that Mercury is stationing direct, we have a conjunction of a conjunction of Jupiter and Venus. So I think I said like August 13th or something originally. Sometimes I have like a rough outline and then I'm like, let's toss the notes and I got it all up here. Then I'm like, no, wait, you're a dumb little bitch. That was wrong. So right around August 11th, August 12th, we have a conjunction of the benefic planets. So we have this opposition, a tough aspect with our two planets that are about restricting, taking things away, and conflict. And now we have a blending or a coming together of energy, a powerful conjunction of our two benefic planets, the planets that want to affirm and expand and uplift. So there's going to be a lot to do with the part of your chart that has to do with Cancer. Because we have a conjunction of Jupiter, the planet of expansion, of opportunity, of optimism, of good fortune, coming together with Venus, the planet of connection and beauty and love and relationships. And these are coming together in the sign of Cancer. So first of all, Jupiter has been in Cancer since around June 10th and will be in this sign until June 2026. And so Jupiter and Venus coming together here really is like a beautiful, sweet kiss in the part of your chart in the Cancer part of your chart. And this is a really affirming, uplifting, beautiful, sweet kind of energy. So this is really speaking to like blessings, expansion, and opportunity in the Cancer part of your chart. Jupiter expands what it touches. It uplifts, especially in Cancer. Jupiter is at a really, really high expression of being able to. It sort of adds this like protective and nurturing quality to Jupiter. So Jupiter expands anything with Venus. It could be creativity, relationships, beauty. This is just a really, really good feeling energy. So it's almost like we have this like really intense full moon, this kind of blockage, delay, like kind of feeling, and then this like beautiful coming together in the Cancer part of your chart. And it's also likely that these are kind of happening at the same time. It could be that maybe we are still feeling this Mars-Saturn opposition, but we're also feeling this build up to this beautiful kind of Jupiter-Venus energy. This does kind of give you, Cancer is can be about like loved ones and people that feel like family or like quality time spent. So this is just like generally like a really good time to kind of like extra sweet kind of getting together with people that you are close to. This could be a really good time to kind of spend connecting to art or creativity. This could also be a really sweet energy to be generous and kind of give back to people as well. It may be something to do with like an opportunity connected to the life area that Cancer would rule for you. So let's say Cancer is your 6th house, because hold on, what would that be? I gotta think. So if you're Aquarius rising, Cancer would be your 6th house. So this could be something to do with like, this might be this frankly might be like, oh, it might be a good opportunity to like look for work, or that you may find an opportunity connected to a new job, or it could be this could be about like connecting with people like at an connecting with people at like an exercise class or something, or like that there's a lot more harmony with coworkers or your boss or something connected to that, because Jupiter Venus is sweetness, it is harmony, and they're frankly just like there's some really nice energies, I think, connecting to blessings connected to this part of your chart. I also really feel like this is kind of when we are going to really see Cancer, or Jupiter and Cancer really begin to wake up a little bit, because on a technical level, Jupiter was under the sun's beams, and so Jupiter was not visible in the sky, and Jupiter is now visible because it is more than 15 degrees away from the sun, and it is also right now a morning star. So we see Jupiter sort of rising as a morning star. So this is a more active, dynamic, this is just a more active Jupiter. Jupiter is of the day sect in ancient astrology, so it sort of fits its themes a little bit better when it's rising as a morning star. And when it becomes visible after not being visible, it is a little bit extra powerful. It's a little bit extra potent. It's like where Jupiter is transiting through Cancer in your chart, I really feel like it's going to be more felt from now on. Like, you're really going to be able to see what Jupiter is doing. And I also want to add too, Jupiter in Cancer may not just hand you these lucky opportunities. And maybe I think Jupiter really responds to when you put an effort, essentially, because Jupiter magnifies. And so if you're putting an effort somewhere, let's say Cancer is your 10th house of career. Like if that's Libra rising, if Cancer is your 10th house of career, you may be, this may come with like promotion or reward, or just feeling like extra blessings connected to career for you. So there's some really, really sweet energy with Jupiter and Venus. And no matter where it's at in your chart, this is helpful for relationships and quality time with people that you love and care about. Cancer is a very mushy, relationship oriented sign. So there's some really, really beautiful energy after some kind of harsh, yucky energy from that Mars and Saturn opposition. So let's do a little reading for each of the rising signs and talk about where exactly in your chart this might be happening for you, and a little bit about these themes. So I do recommend that you listen for your rising sign, or it's either called your rising sign or your ascendant, and it's the same thing. You can listen for your sun or your moon too. It's going to be more literally accurate for you if you listen for your rising sign. So you can blend those together if you want. Like if you really feel called to listen to your sun or your moon, totally do that. But definitely listening to the rising sign first. You can also go ahead and click on the timestamp or the chapter on YouTube. And it will just take you to your sign from this point on. And also, if you're listening to the audio version of the podcast, there are timestamps in the show notes, so you can go ahead and just kind of seek, wherever you are listening to this, to listen to your forecast. So let's go ahead and let's jump in. All right, Aries, let's go ahead and look at you first. Okay, so first, let's talk about this Mars-Saturn opposition. It's happening in your 1st and 7th houses. So you may feel this Mars-Saturn opposition in a little bit more personal way. Frankly, it could just be that maybe you're like a little bit more irritable, during this opposition. It's coming into your Mars is Libra is going to be in your 7th house of partnership and relationships. So those themes of like needing to get along with others, relationship harmony, I think is going to be very literal and true for you. It also just may stimulate Mars and Libra is going to, I think, just kind of stimulate your relationship sector anyway. it doesn't necessarily have to mean it's like a bad thing. There's more motivation, more passion in relationships for you, but there's likely, around August 8th, August 9th, you may feel that those feelings of like, I have to do the thing. I really don't want to do it. I don't want to have to go to the meeting. I don't want to have to exercise. I don't have to go to work, all of these things. Saturn kind of being in your sign, you really may feel those themes of like maybe having to take on responsibility, having to work hard towards something that takes time, and that could be like a little bit frustrating. So just kind of be aware that kind of crunchy, kind of grindy energy, those are in important houses for you. And I would, if possible, take a little bit of extra rest those few days and make sure that you're not overscheduled. Just because I do feel like you're going to feel like a little bit of that weight, that weighty kind of feeling with that Mars Saturn opposition. The full moon coming through is going to be in your 11th house. So completion, culmination, and ending, perhaps, connected to social group, friends, different groups or organizations that you might belong to, whether it's like a formal thing that you belong to or an informal kind of group alliance. There could be something coming up relating to like your social media or social media following. It could be about like really kind of taking a realistic look at or fulfilling like a goal of yours, or kind of what just because the 11th house is your goals, wishes, and hopes for the future. So it may be something that you may be achieving something right now, or on the other hand, it's like I might be like letting go of one kind of goal or aspiration, kind of focusing on something else. So it either has to do with social groups, friendships, colleagues, more activity, heightened activity there, or something coming through with your goals and wishes and hopes for the future. But there is that crunchy, grindy energy that I mentioned around this full moon for you as well. Mercury will be stationing direct in your 5th house of romance, of children, creative projects, your passions. You may have like really kind of like reviewed those things, or different things coming up from the past connected to those areas. This would be the time that you might be having some more clarity, or things really kind of are getting going in that part of your life now, on August 11th, as Mercury stations direct. That Jupiter Cancer little kiss that's happening for you in home and family. So this is a really good time to be spending with family, to be spending with people that, whether it is blood family or chosen family. This could be anything expansive and beneficial connected to the home living situation. This could be a really wonderful time to like redecorate, or just kind of really put some really beautiful energy into your home. And this could really help any kind of housing or any kind of matter relating to housing, property. And also this could just be a good time. Like this could be a time where like a relative or a family member helps you out with some kind of opportunity as well. But anything with home and family gets a really expansive, beautiful energy right around August 11th, August 12th. So Taurus rising. This Saturn-Mars opposition first, that's happening August 8th, August 9th, is happening across your 12th and 6th houses. So with Mars entering your 6th house, it really could just be time of like, I got to get to work. There's more stuff happening with work. There's more activity happening with like physical exercise and physical bodily health, having to sort of take care of those things. It could be that maybe something that you need to pay attention to concerning health or work does come up for you around this time. It could be that, hey, I really want to work out, or really want to take this on, but I don't quite have the energy to do that right now, or the timing kind of isn't right. That could be potentially something kind of coming up around this time. It could be this balance of like mental and spiritual health with physical health, but this opposition is happening in kind of two houses that really deal with health and also some work themes. So some kind of sticky energy may come up here, but again, remember, it is temporary energy. The full moon is happening in an important sector of your chart. This is a culmination or a fulfillment or a completion or ending having to do with career. Could be career or your public professional reputation, like how you are seen. Could have something to do with family sometimes too. I have seen 10th be kind of family things. It depends on how your chart's situated. or anything connected to like authority figures. It could be like a boss that's leaving or an authority figure quitting. But if frankly, like there just may be more, there frankly may be heightened energy around your career and your professional life. Or what you consider to be your public visibility, or your like how people, like what role people see you as in the world. So that's kind of what's coming up with that full moon. Mercury will station direct a couple days after the full moon on August 11th in your fourth house of home and family. So if there's been some review or some things connected from the past, or some snags coming up related to home, property, family, ancestors, where you're from, living situation, there's going to be more clarity on that, and an ability to kind of move forward with that as well, with Mercury stationing direct. Lastly, we have that kiss of Jupiter and Venus in your third house. This could be these beautiful Jupiter Venus things of affirmation and pleasure and expansion, connected to personal studies or learning something new. This could be an opportunity or just simply a good time to connect with loved ones, especially who are like siblings, cousins, childhood friends, people kind of in your immediate environment. Is that third house energy. It also could be a really good time to take like a little trip, to do some travel, to simply kind of get out there and kind of explore the world a little bit. I'm not saying like international or long distance. It just kind of feels like things that are kind of close to you. But it just feels like a good time to kind of be out in the world, especially with people that are your homies. Like third house energy is like people that have like known you since like childhood, people that feel like siblings to you. It just feels like get out there and like experience things and connect to people that you love with this energy. Gemini rising. So let's look at what we got for you. So this Saturn Mars opposition coming through is falling across your 11th and 5th houses. So Mars going into Libra, that's going to kind of kick that off. So Mars, a planet of passion, motivation, action, energy, disruption, and conflict, is going into your 5th house of romance. So it could be that like, yeah, I'm like wanting more passion. I'm wanting to work on my creative projects. But perhaps there's like a snag that kind of comes in, or if you think if I have to wait, there could be a potential kind of blockage or delay coming from like 11th house matter. So things connected to social things or groups. Or there's just, like, again, it's almost like I want to have fun and socialize, but there's maybe like a little bit of a delay or an obstruction or something I have to do. Mars going into your 5th house also, it could be that there's like some source of aggravation coming from a child in your life as well. It's like, it may be, it might be like, oh, they're like, your kid's routine is different. That's like irritating to your schedule or something. It doesn't have to mean that you get in a fight with your child, It just has to do with children. But there is something kind of uncomfortable or something that you're having to figure out between socializing and romance and fun and children. And those kind of where those topics are for you. So this full moon is going to be in Aquarius. And obviously it's in Aquarius, but I think the title of the video is. But it's happening in your 9th house. So you really can have your focus and awareness with this full moon on things connected to travel, other cultures, things connected to a like higher knowledge or a higher degree or higher education, things connected to spirituality or your personal belief system or philosophy can come in with this full moon. So there's like an ending there, or there's a fulfillment, or that's kind of where your mind's going to be during this full moon. Sometimes 9th house can be legal things as well. So it could be like the resolution of a legal issue or the end of one that's ongoing. Mercury will station direct in your 3rd house. So I wonder if I bet this felt like a classic Mercury retrograde for you. You're Gemini rising, so you're ruled by Mercury. Mercury was in the 3rd house of communication, so that is stationing direct. So if there were like emails that got lost, or things happening with transportation or vehicles or like logistics, how you get around your daily life stuff, there is maybe some disruption or redoing of things with Mercury going retrograde in this part of your chart. That's going to start to kind of resolve itself. And then finally, Venus and Jupiter meeting up in your 2nd house. This could be making a purchase. So frankly, second house is your money, it's your earned income, it's your cash flow and assets. This could be treating yourself to making some kind of purchase that feels really, really good. This could be stimulating some kind of cash flow. This could just be really feeling good about your ability to make money. This could stimulate cash flow and money for you. This could be like, I found another opportunity and a way to make money that feels really, really good for me. Or there could just simply be some sort of blessings around cash flow and finances. So that feels really, really nice. There's like a supportive money energy, and the ability to sort of make money is definitely here to kind of generate abundance. So, not saying it's going to change your life, but it does feel like a pretty sweet energy. All right, let's look at Cancer rising. So Cancer rising, this energy is pretty active for you because this stuff tends to be pretty angular in your chart. So first of all, this Mars Saturn opposition. Okay, I got to think. I got to think about this. So Saturn, I want to talk about Saturn going into your 10th house. You might be like entering some sort of new era of career, but maybe kind of figuring out what exactly that's going to be still, or maybe having some feelings of like extra responsibility, weight on your shoulders. It's giving like manager, but there's more shit I have to do, or simply maybe feeling a feeling of like some limitations or delays in career is possible too. And like having to kind of work through what those might be. And this opposes Mars in your 4th house. There's this dynamic between career and home and family that comes up with this Mars Saturn opposition. Perhaps there's more things that you have to pay attention to at home. There's something that you have to resolve with a family member. There's something that comes up with home that you have to deal with. But there's also like career stuff that you have to deal with too. So I feel like you're going to be feeling kind of, some crunchy energy. Again, it's not the end of the world. It's just saying, hi, deal with this. Let's not overschedule ourselves, So, and perhaps there's just simply trying to find a balance between home and family and career that can come in for you too. So this full moon is ruled by, this full moon is in Aquarius, happening right around the same time. And, this full moon falls in your 8th house. The 8th house has to do with, financial things like credit cards, loans, taxes, but also inheritance, your other people's money, other benefits that you're part of. And so there's some kind of thing to pay attention to or thing that's happening here. This could be like, hey, we have to sort of pay out insurance to like a claim connected to like home or something, or there's a change in my partner's income, or it's like there's just something financial probably that you will be dealing with. It's also possible too that the 8th house can also be like psychological things. So it's sort of where I always kind of think about it as this is kind of a part in our chart where we kind of hold some trauma. It can be secrets, things that are kind of kept hidden. More like emotional things. So this can be sort of a deeply kind of psychological full moon for you, a really good time to kind of go inward and check in. And also 8th house stuff can be more psychic energy. 8th house can deal with like the occult. So this might be a good time to kind of use tarot or another kind of divination method to gain access to information to that would otherwise be hidden from you. Things that are going on with your own psyche, or just asking whatever kind of questions, you might be able to kind of gain more information than you might normally have access to just because of the way this energy looks. So Cancer rising, Venus and Jupiter are meeting up in your 1st house of self and identity, expression, and physical health and physicality and all of that. So this is a good time to just feel that expansive, optimistic, abundance energy in your personal life. This would be a time to promote yourself. This would be a time to maybe just expect like a little blessing or two from the universe. This might be people kind of going out of their way to help you. This is a good time to relate and connect to people. You might feel just like more generous, more relationship oriented, and this is a little bit of a treat yourself, kind of take the day off kind of vibe. Like go get a pedicure, get your nails done, whatever it is that you want to do to kind of give some sweetness back to yourself. This is also just good energy to be generous to other people too. It's like there's this I'm receiving, but I'm also kind of giving kind of energy. And it's just some really sweet, really beautiful energy. I think that's going to kind of offset any kind of harshness from this Mars Saturn stuff, because I do feel like home and family stuff will be busier for you from now until September 22nd. Leo rising. Okay, Leo baby. All right, Mars Saturn opposition for you is happening in your ninth and third houses. So Mars is going to kind of activate some stuff in the third house for you. So there's more motivation, more passion around learning, studying, travel. It just kind of makes your daily environment and your daily routines busier with Mars going into your third house. Mars can also aggravate. So it also could be like, hey, I need to pay attention to my transportation, my vehicle, how I get around. There's more emails to respond to. There might be, your communication might be a little bit more sharp-tongued. So I definitely would heed my warnings with Mars and Libra on needing to get along with other people, because Mars going through your third house can just make you a little bit more powerful in your communication, but also a little bit more sharp-tongued. So Mars is going to encounter that opposition to Saturn in your ninth house. So there could be something around maybe having to defend your beliefs, or that there is some sort of obstruction or delay connected to education, connected to travel. Communication, study, and travel are kind of the main topics around your ninth and third houses. So there's maybe something to work through or some kind of block around that. And then when we look at your full moon in Aquarius, that's happening in your seventh house of relationships. There could be some completion, some fulfillment, some ending possibly connected to a partnership, whether that's romantic, business, any of your one-on-one relationships. You may be evaluating which ones are really serving me, which ones are not. This Aquarius energy is going to be looking at like anything that feels like worthwhile and long-term, great. But if it's not really, if it's like really like not, if it's, you could I cannot talk. You could very well be kind of thinking about like, I'm ready to kind of let this relationship go. I'm ready to end something here too. You could also be, taking something to like the next level and kind of cementing a relationship that's developing as well. But yeah, very active full moon for you because it's angular in your chart. It has to do with relationships. But there's definitely something with communication, travel, your beliefs happening around this full moon as well. But if we go a couple days later, Mercury is going to be stationing direct in your first house. It's stationing direct in your sign on August 11th. You're getting very clear about something. You've likely maybe had kind of some sort of personal life review, or really kind of thinking about your goals and like where you're going and like who you are. This Mercury retrograde was more personal for you. Just kind of thinking about like, what do I want to do now? Like, or just feeling like this could have been it could have either been like profound, like, oh, I'm really thinking like deeply, being very introspective, or it could have been like, fuck, I have to like redo a bunch of shit. It's really fucking annoying. Like you could just really be really feeling like, have it that sort of irritating version of Mercury retrograde. But it is stationing direct in Leo. It is going to oppose Pluto in that seventh house. So I really feel like you are considering deeply your relationships, your partnerships. I sometimes look at the seventh house too as like, this could be a relationship with your job or your career as well. It doesn't have to, it's like, because the seventh house is like your formal agreements and contracts. So it's like we could be really kind of deeply considering what we are doing next, connected to that as well. We have that gorgeous little meetup of Jupiter in Cancer and Venus in Cancer in your 12th house. This is giving, be by the water, take a rest, take a break. 12th house energy is rest, retreat, private isolation, spiritual, mental health. And this could also be a blessing in disguise, or just feeling like that there's some sort of like invisible support from the universe. 12th house energy this is sort of like there's like an angel in your back corner. You may not see them, but you can feel them, essentially. So really, really good time to kind of turn technology off, take a little bit of time to connect to spirituality, be in meditation, go out to nature, be by water, something where you're getting some quiet. It's like being outside, being connected to nature. There's a beautiful energy. I think that's really connected to that for you. All right. So let's look at Virgo. Virgo rising, darling. So we have the Saturn Mars opposition for you is occurring actually in your financial houses. Don't freak out when I say that. It's going to be okay. Mars going into Libra. It does mean that you're going to be paying attention to finances and money. So it could stimulate like this feeling of like, I need to make more money. I'm really hustling. I'm grinding. It could also mean that there's maybe some purchases that you're having to spend. Mars going through your second house can kind of stimulate spending of money, frankly. So I would try to save a little money if you can, to be more conservative with your spending through September 2nd, or excuse me, through September 22nd. As you never know with this energy, it could be something around it's opposing Saturn in your 8th house of credit, of loans, insurance. It could be just having to sort of deal with something connected to your investments, insurance, having to sort of pay off some sort of bill, or that you're having to sort of take these accounts more seriously, or there is some sort of organization that you're having to do, or you're having to sort of make some purchase that you don't want to make. But I would say take this seriously. But again, it's temporary energy. But like really around this full moon is kind of where I see that for you. The full moon itself is happening in your 6th house. So this is the daily grind house. So could be that a job is coming to an end, that you're looking for new work, that you're getting a new job, that there is a coworker that's leaving, boss that's leaving, some kind of change in your work life, or simply that there's just more work for you. It's just maybe there's more work projects that you're having to focus on right now, having to take seriously. It could also be that you're having to pay attention to something in health. Perhaps you've reached a new health milestone, or you're doing something different connected to physical health and like exercise. It's also possible that this is also to like a pet, having to do with like an animal or a little furry loved one connected to that. There's like an ending or completion or something happening with that as well. So this energy is like the areas of life that we have to deal with that we don't really want to. And again, it doesn't have to be bad. It's just like that you're having to sort of adult up a little bit with this full moon. This Jupiter, okay. So bleh, 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 bleh. So Jupiter-Venus conjunction happening in the 11th house. This is friends, colleagues, social groups. This is a really sweet time to spend with friends. This could also be like, hey, I kind of want to go to this networking thing. I don't really want to go. This would be a really good time to go. This is like, I'm meeting someone that I totally vibe with at a networking event. I have some sort of opportunity connected to there's maybe an opportunity connected to a friend that's going to come in. That's a really beautiful time to kind of expand social circle, a beautiful time to kind of join any groups or collaborate with any groups. Anything that you're doing online with like social media stuff, enhanced, and simply just a good time to connect with friends. Like these are like the 11th house is the house of like your associates, your friendships, your and colleagues. So there's opportunities and just connection that come from that. So and really kind of feeling the love and just kind of getting more involved, I think, in kind of your wider kind of community would be 11th house. Also a good time to think about what you want to manifest and kind of what your goals and wishes for the future are as well, because that can be 11th house vibes. So because 11th house is goals and wishes and hopes for the future. So all right, so let's move on to Libra rising. Okay, Libra rising. It is the next morning for me, by the way. We're waking up. So we're starting with you this morning. The magic of editing. Okay, so Libra rising. All right, so Mars opposite Saturn is in your sign, essentially. So Mars moving into Libra. It's going to be there until September 22nd. Mars is action, motivation, energy, and passion, but also can be inflammation and conflict. So, and I don't want you to freak out when I say that. But Mars, like the fiery red planet moving through your sign, maybe you're gonna, it might be that you're like a little bit more irritable over these several weeks. This is going to be a good time to kind of go out and like do things to get your exercise, to get your physical energy kind of exerted out of your body. And that tends to be a good way to remediate some of the more immediate kind of Martian energy. I would also just you do also just want to just pay a little bit extra attention to like physical health things, and not overdo it, because first house, where Mars is transiting for you, can be physical health. But in general, you're sort of going to take on more of a Martian kind of energy, a little bit more like, frankly, like a little bit more, what the fuck did you say to me kind of energy. However, it's going to be Mars in Libra, so you're going to want to kind of put that tactfully. The Mars opposite Saturn aspect that is happening on August 8th and August 9th. Again, this can suggest like blockage or delay, or having to, or having to, like do a commitment that we're not really kind of wanting to. Perhaps there are sort of frustrations or delays when it comes to partnership, because Mars will be opposite Saturn in your 7th house of partnership. There's going to be something happening for you in relationships right now. Saturn has been in Aries for, God, I can't remember. Was it the end of May? For a couple months before it goes back into Pisces in September. So you're maybe in kind of a new chapter with your committed relationships or your one-on-one partnerships. Business partnerships, platonic relationships, or like romantic partnerships. There might be some sort of shift happening for you there. This is suggesting maybe having to deal with relationship things that maybe we are not wanting to deal with, or just again, just some sort of touchy, irritable energy, or some kind of stuck energy that is connected to that you may feel on kind of a more personal level. Or if you just feel like a little bit yucky around the 8th and 9th, that energy passes pretty quickly. But again, like I said, Mars will be in Libra until the 22nd, but this particular aspect is a pretty quickly moving one. So the full moon itself is going to be in your 5th house of romance, creativity, passions, hobbies, recreation, children. So this represents a completion, a culmination, something. A lot of a surge of activity essentially in that part of your chart that deals with romantic and sexual relationships, that deals with children and pregnancy, that also deals with how you have fun essentially. So that could be kind of calling your attention there. There's definitely maybe something connected to relationships here, given that the ruling planet of this full moon is in your 7th house of relationships right now. So there could definitely be a relationship component to this full moon, but that is definitely going to be calling your attention during this full moon in Aquarius. Mercury will be stationing direct in your 11th house of friends and colleagues, as well as your goals, wishes, and hopes for the future. So if you've had a little Mercury retrograde experience with like a friend, maybe like reconnecting with like friends or groups from the past. This may bring a little bit of clarity and help things kind of move forward in that area. You also might be starting to kind of clarify your goals and wishes and hopes for the future as well. So this Jupiter-Venus meetup. Oh, you know what? I forgot to share my screen. Whoopsie. Not that it matters that much, but it's kind of interesting. So Jupiter and Venus are going to meet at the top of your chart around August 11th and August 12th. So that conjunction of Venus and Jupiter is happening in your career sector. It's happening in your public reputation, how you are seen by people. This sort of feels like this is literally blessings and generosity and growth and nurturing connected to career things for you. So this is maybe a little bit of extra love coming in. This is a great time to be sort of seen by a superior or a boss, to promote yourself, in a public kind of like in any kind of public any kind of public relations way, you would sort of be received kind of well. Or the public, yeah, it's like it's 10th house can be public reputation, essentially. So there is some kind of it could be, some sort of opportunity comes in. It also could just feel like I'm feeling pretty good at work, like I'm feeling pretty well liked and pretty well loved right now, essentially. Or it could be that like this is like really about facilitating relationships with boss or people connected to your career or workplace. But this is definitely some blessings connected to career and public reputation here. So Scorpio rising. So the Mars Saturn stuff. So Mars is going to go into your 12th house. This is suggesting that you're going to be starting to work on stuff in the background, perhaps. Sometimes Mars going through Libra can be a sign for you of maybe a little bit of lowered energy and lowered vitality, because Mars is your ruling planet. Mars is going into a sign that is in its detriment. It's going into your 12th house. A 12th house has to do with like rest, retreat, isolation, and that kind of thing. So I have seen this kind of pop up as a sign of like a little bit of lowered energy and vitality, considering Mars rules energy and is your ruling planet. It doesn't mean that immediately it's like, oh, my energy levels are going to plummet just because Alex said, and I can totally feel it. Like, but just that's one manifestation of it. But again, you're working on more things. You're working on kind of things in the background. I would also, I think prioritizing health and rest while Mars is in Libra is always going to be a good idea for you. Even though I'm sure you have plenty of stuff that you're going to be working on and plenty of stuff that you're going to be busy with. Mars will oppose Saturn in your 6th house. It's sort of like there's this, there's a balance here between rest and work, rest and health, taking care of yourself while also having to sort of deal with your daily grind. That's kind of the theme that's kind of coming up on August 8th and August 9th. And while you are trying to sort of figure out your work routines and your exercise routines and kind of how all of that kind of fits together. So that's kind of what I see with this energy here. August 11th, Mercury stations direct. It's going to station direct in your 10th house of career. You've been probably reviewing and getting a little bit more clarity and information on kind of where you're going with your career and your career trajectory. Things with your public reputation and authority figures can come in here as well. But you're going to start to get some more, things are moving ahead as far as career for you guys. And we spent these last 3 to 4 weeks of Mercury retrograde really kind of thinking about what we are doing here. The full moon, I forgot to mention, full moon in Aquarius is falling in your 4th house on August 8th, August 9th. There's something coming up with home and family, property, ancestors' roots, where you are from, living situation stuff. There's a completion, a culmination, a something happening here. Like I said, for me, look at that. I just signed a new lease a couple days before this full moon, so there's a lot happening with home for me. So it could be something literal, like a move for you. It could be something going on with like a family member or a parent, or you may be more active and involved in your home. So yes, so home stuff is definitely home and family stuff may be coming up for you for Scorpio rising. This Jupiter Venus conjunction is going to be happening, again around August 11th, August 12th in that 9th house. That feels like if you're in this space to teach something, this is a good time to be teaching, to be sharing spiritual information, spiritual wisdom, to be sharing your beliefs and philosophy, to be learning about the world. Anything connected to higher education, it really supports that as well. It's like you're getting new perspective, and it's really kind of time to it's like this conjunction really is going to be activating 9th house stuff for you. So also anything to do with travel and other cultures, or long distance travel, like you're really kind of opening up your mind in some way with this energy. And then also anything with like publishing. This is like time to start writing your book. This is anything to do with like publishing and media. This could also be about like, hey, it might be time to start that podcast or start that YouTube channel, because 9th house has to do with like broadcasting and media. So it can sort of have to do with these sort of social media kinds of endeavors. But this is like sharing your message, sharing your voice, or kind of, opening your mind, connecting to spirituality. Ninth house also rules like divination tools. So tarot, astrology, that kind of thing. It could be a really great time to kind of to connect to those modalities and learn more about them or take a class in them. Sagittarius. All right, 1 second. Make sure. Okay, cool. Had to make sure my phone was on Do Not Disturb. Sagittarius, I could talk to you. So Sagittarius rising. Mars is moving into your 11th house. So, motivation, passion, energy, connected to groups and friends, your social groups, colleagues, also your goals, wishes, and hopes for the future. It is a more social kind of Mars for you. Again, Mars going into Libra. This is sort of suggesting, maybe there's like a conflict with a friend that may come up during this transit. And this is again till September 22nd. That's certainly a possibility. It's also possible that there's just more social energy around you right now. But specifically on August 8th, August 9th, there is like a conflict between friends, groups. There's some kind of snag between friends, groups, colleagues, and your something with like a romantic life or your hobbies and recreation or something with children. There's some kind of clash between these two worlds here. It's like maybe, something isn't gelling with your social life and also your dating life or something connected to that, or social life and like friends versus, like your duties with children or something connected to that. But this does feel like some kind of stuck energy around August 8th, August 9th. And actually, it could also feel like I really want to do this thing socially, but I have these other kind of responsibilities connected to my creative projects or children or romantic life that's like blocking that. Or maybe we are overcommitted. Maybe we're overcommitted to social calendar stuff like around this time. So just kind of keep an eye on that energy. Full moon in Aquarius right around that time, August 8th, August 9th, is landing in your 3rd house. So things connected to personal studies, your communication, your correspondences, your daily routine, your transportation. It could be that we have to sort of change how we get around. It could be that we're going on like a little trip. There's like some travel here. There's just like, maybe there's really important correspondences and communications happening for you. Maybe you're finishing a communications project. Perhaps there's an event connected to like an important event connected to like the lives of a sibling or like an important cousin or a childhood friend, because those could be 3rd house relationships, or like an aunts, uncles can also come in with 3rd house stuff. But it just feels like your personal daily routine, like your errands, you're running around, grabbing your coffee. There's something, maybe you're changing how you do that, or there's something important connected to that. So Mercury's going to station direct on August 11th in your 9th house. Perhaps we've been kind of rethinking our beliefs, our political beliefs, our spiritual beliefs. Maybe we've been revisiting something connected to education or higher education that we visited in the past and we're finishing up now. Maybe we have to sort of revisit some travel or rethink travel, or review some kind of legal issue or something connected to spirituality. You're going to be getting some more clarity around those things now. And then finally around the August 11th, August 12th, that Jupiter Venus meetup in your 8th house. Excuse me, I think I just burped on camera. And you know what? I'm not going to edit it out because I don't want to. So anyway, look at me bravely taking a stand. Okay, so this conjunction is happening in your 8th house of other people's money, debts, inheritances, taxes, and also like deep psychological energy and like witchy occult energy. So this is perhaps like beneficial energy connected to, perhaps this is time that you get approved for that loan or that credit card, or that you receive like a gift of money that is not connected, like that. Maybe it's your partner being like, here's some extra money, like, or your partner is making more money. It's like money that is connected to that's not exactly how you earn income. or perhaps you have access to like some grant or some inheritance or something around this time. But there seems to be a freer flow of credit and other people's money and resources that you are connected to and other people's backing. This could also be a time where we can kind of work through some emotional things as well, or it's sort of easier to sort of like release emotional energy as well too. But either way, I do like how that is sort of situated for you. All right, Capricorn rising. So, the Mars and Saturn opposition happening August 8th, August 9th is happening in your 10th house of career and 4th house of home and family. So Mars is going to be in Libra until September 22nd. You know, Mars can be action, motivation, and energy, but also inflammation, irritation, and conflict. You always get a little bit of both with Mars. So, you know, you might be pretty motivated to take action as far as career stuff goes. There's just more action happening for you in career, maybe a little bit more ambition. Granted, your success with Mars and Libra moving through your career sector is going to be very dependent on you harmonizing with relationships, and collaborations and partnerships are going to be helpful to you during this energy. So it's very important that if there is a conflict that comes up, that we resolve it peacefully and we use diplomacy. We don't steamroll over people with this energy. Mars will be opposite Saturn in the 4th house of home and family. So August 8th, August 9th, you just might feel like a little bit overcommitted. You know, maybe there's something with the home that's sort of like disruptive or put some sort of stuck energy or delay or blockage around career energy. August 8th, August 9th, if you can help it, I would just kind of clear your calendar a little bit. It might also be that like you also might be the type as Capricorn rising as this ambitious, you know, industrious, we're going to get it done no matter what Capricorn energy, that maybe there is some project that you're going to be working on until you just like complete it. You know, it can definitely go like the way of like, I just really want to tackle this like long project, you know, but I do just generally feel like snags and delays like around August 8th, August 9th. But again, that energy does kind of clear itself up. But just notice that energy if you're in a little bit of a funk, or you feel like I feel stuck in my career and I feel frustrated, just like let that energy just pass. So the full moon is in your 2nd house, right around the same time. So there could be, so there's a culmination, a completion, or just a lot of activity you're thinking about a lot around your money, your earned income, how you make a paycheck, you know, your movable cash and assets. And also I think like your skills and sort of how you support yourself. Like there could just be like, you might be thinking about a change in how you do it. This might be time where you like raise your rates if you're self-employed. There could be maybe some like expense that has to do with the home as well, because the ruler of this moon is in the 4th house of home and family for you. But yeah, Aquarius full moons for you do tend to be about money and finances. So you just might be thinking about like, yeah, it might be time to like raise my rates a little bit, or maybe there's some sort of payout happening, or perhaps there is like an end to a source of income for you, you know, and you're doing something else that has to do with your livelihood. So Mercury is going to go direct a couple days later in your 8th house of loans, credits, taxes, inheritances. So if you've been thinking about like, yeah, I really would like to refinance or get a loan or take out a new credit card, or, you know, figure out something with my budget and finances, this is when you get some more clarity on that. This is when we have more of a green light to do something connected to that. 8th house can also be, you know, just sort of deeper emotions, deeper trauma. So we might be getting more clarity around that as well. Mercury going through your 8th house too can be a better time to connect with like the tarot or different ways of finding information that are sort of otherwise hidden to you. So this might be a good look, you know, like this might be a good time to do some kind of reading or connect to some sort of divination tool to get some insight on like hidden matters. And finally, the Jupiter-Venus conjunction is happening in your 7th house. There's beneficial support and collaboration with other people. Relationships are going to feel extra sweet, whether that's romantic, platonic, friendship, business partnerships. This might be a time to, you know, if you're self-employed, it might be a time to be like, yeah, let's do like a special, you know, because 7th house is your clients. And this is just going to time when you feel like a little extra supported in your relationships. This is time to collaborate and partner with people. And you're going to really feel like, your partnerships and collaborations, I think, are really going to kind of sparkle during this conjunction around around August 11th, August 12th, and maybe just having like a little gratitude for those people in your life. So Aquarius rising, we take a sip of coffee. Hold on. Okay, Aquarius rising. So Mars has moved into your 9th house of higher education, spirituality, travel, legal things. So Mars will be here until the 22nd of September. Mars is motivation, action, energy. It'll also give me conflict and inflammation and irritation. So we might be defending our beliefs a little bit more. We might be a little bit passionate about our beliefs. There might be just more energy around travel. We might be motivated to like study, to learn, to do things, connected to spirituality or divination, like astrology or something like that. But, again, there is that, sometimes we do have to sort of defend our beliefs when this is Mars, or, or if there's like, or we're like a little touchy around these subjects here. Or perhaps there's like a disruption to travel. So just kind of keep those things in mind. Mars will be opposite Saturn on August 8th and August 9th. So this does feel like maybe some delays, a blockage, a conflict when it comes to things like travel, transportation, how you get around, your general communications. There can be a snag as far as your studies or studying something, or just something about like these houses can often have to do with like travel and like logistics. So there can be just general kind of I would say if you're like how you get around and your correspondences and email, we might be stuck at an impasse with someone. There might be something happening in like traffic that day. It can just be a little bit of frustrating, irritating energy. So give yourself extra time to get somewhere. Make sure that you are tactful and don't come off as a huge bitch in your emails, that kind of stuff. That's August 8th, August 9th. The full moon in Aquarius is happening right in your first house of self-identity, physical health, and self-expression. So you're going to really feel this full moon. I feel like this is a powerful full moon for you to like release something. There's some kind of ending to a personal era or personal chapter. It may be focused on relationships for you as well, because it's directly across from that 7th house of partnership. You may just be a little bit more emotional than normal. And it may not even be emotional. It may be like a rumination, thinking about like how far we've come, what we're letting go of, kind of what our next chapter looks like. And granted that this is happening right as Mercury is going to station direct 2 days later in your 7th house of partnership, I feel like there's been like review or going back through the past connected to your relationships and your partnerships, romantic, business, platonic, all of that stuff. So this full moon does feel like it has a kind of like relationship-y kind of component to it. And because this full moon for you is ruled by Saturn conjunct Neptune, like there's like almost a feeling of like one phase of life is slowly dissolving and ending and something else is beginning, but maybe we're not sure what exactly that looks like. But it does, I do feel like you're just going to feel this full moon. It does give a completion, ending, culminations kind of classic vibe for you. So finally, we have Jupiter and Venus are going to be conjunct in your 6th house of health, work, and pets. So this can be some sweet energy, some opportunity, reason to celebrate, easier flow energy connected to work. So it could be that we're just really nurturing relationships with our coworkers. It could be that we're, that work projects are easily flowing for us, or more easily able to access work. If you need a new job, this is time to like go out there and get your foot in the door, or send in applications, message people on LinkedIn, all of that good stuff. Just because this is generosity and flowing energy, there's some luck and opportunity here. There's like a little gift here. There could be, this is like a great time to focus on physical health and the physical body, get your exercise, take care of your body. Your body will reward you in return. This also could be connecting with people, like, in an exercise class, or meeting like a new friend at like a yoga class, because 6th house can be health and wellness kind of stuff. And then also this could be really like connecting with like pets and animals as well. Cancer is that nurturing kind of family energy. This could be when we really, like we're really connected with like an animal. We maybe adopt someone, that we sort of take someone home or adopt someone, or that we fall in love, with a new animal. This could also just be time that we're just spending more time with our animals as well. But work, health, pets are kind of where this sort of juicy kind of blessings energy come in. So Pisces rising. First of all, Mars going into Libra. Will be in Libra until the 22nd of September. It's going to be moving through your 8th house. This is motivation, action, energy, as well as irritation and inflammation. So this can maybe be connected to other people's money, loans, credit cards, that kind of thing. You're maybe having to sort of deal with like a little bit of a situation here. Again, don't panic when I say that, because definitely finances can be a touchy subject. But this, you could be like saying wanting to refinance, wanting to consolidate, maybe wanting to take out like a new credit card or a loan or something. Or there's just action connected to like maybe like a partner's money. But around the 8th and 9th, there's like a delay, a little bit of a like, oh, we need this form, and you don't have it. It takes like 5 business days to get this form. That's kind of what the energy feels like here. Or, or like, oh, you're locked out of your bank account for 2 days because you forgot your password, because Mars is going to oppose Saturn in your 2nd house of cash and assets. So there can be some frustrating or stuck or slow energy connected to finances here. But luckily that energy, that blockade kind of does start to separate and move on after August 8th and August 9th. And while Mars is in Libra, in general, you're more motivated to what's the word I'm looking for? To get money. I mean, you're more motivated to maybe get your hands on credit, a loan, investment, inheritance money, tax money stuff. But just be careful that you don't maybe overspend, I would say, or that you don't like overreach in those categories. So the full moon is going to be in your 12th house. Your attention may be more pulled to rest, retreat, isolation, mental and spiritual health matters. You're going to maybe want a little bit more privacy. This also can illuminate something that was previously hidden to you. That bright, shining full moon in your 12th house. The 12th house is things that is hidden from you. Maybe ways that you might kind of get in your own way or self-sabotage. This can really kind of light up those things, and you can kind of gain more understanding. It's like gaining more understanding on things that are previously hidden to you. But also just connecting to like getting a little rest, getting some maybe time in nature, or just like, hey, I'm going to hang out my bedroom and not be bothered. That's kind of that's the energy of really kind of what it is giving me here. And it just kind of feels like some sort of private thing unfolding, or you just doing your own kind of spiritual processing is sort of what I feel like this full moon is for you. Mercury is going to go direct on August 11th in your 6th house of health and work. Maybe you're getting more clarity around a health issue or how best to take care of your physical body. Maybe you get some answers to like a long delayed health thing. There also could be, if we're feeling stuck at work, maybe with a job search or with our job itself, we're going to get more clarity on that as well, and things begin to move forward. Maybe we are sort of reconsidering how we work, what we do for work, or what our work looks like. We're going to get some more clarity in those areas. Or perhaps work has just been annoying, like emails not sending, coworkers pissing me off. It's like, that feels like that's kind of coming to an end. We're going to get some more clarity around forward movement around those types of situations. And then finally, we have this gorgeous little meetup of Jupiter and Venus in your 5th house of romance, passions, hobbies, creativity, creative projects, and children. Some of you will be making a baby with this energy. So if you are trying to have a baby or trying to conceive, do the deed, around this time, especially around August 11th, August 12th. This is a beautiful, really fertile kind of energy here. Hey, if you're not trying for a baby and you don't want one, make sure that you are using protection and contraception. Because this is, again, a very, very fertile energy. This could also just be something developing in your love life, love, romance, and sex. This is definitely kind of some really sweet energy to be connecting with someone special. This is a really fertile time for creativity and creative projects, whether that's art or whether you're like, I build tables, like that's your creative projects, right? So Your hobbies and recreation and passions definitely give that some energy. You're going to get some really sweet, wonderful energy back here. This also can be a wonderful time to connect with a child, whether it's your child or whether you're like an uncle or something. This can be a really, really good time to connect with children. But really beautiful celebratory energy in your fifth house, which is a very kind of celebratory, creative passions house anyway. So really take advantage of that energy, or simply just take gratitude for like, hey, these things are flowing. I feel really kind of inspired around August 11th, August 12th. So that is that. Hopefully I didn't ramble too much when I talked about the full moon. I realized I was like, I could have condensed this a little bit, but oh well. So again, if you're wanting to book a session with me, it's dogstaroracle.com, DOGSTAR oracle.com. I'll leave the link in the show notes and the comments on YouTube. I'll see you next time. I hope everyone has a constructive use of this energy if possible, and hopefully everyone's having a good summer. So thanks for listening, and I'll talk to y'all soon.